Hello everybody and welcome back to Animal Crossing City Folk. Today I'm actually going to remember to check turnip prices. I legitimately forgot we had some. Yesterday wouldn't have been a good price anyway because it was just Monday. At least I think it was. Can't remember the days that well. Yeah, it was just Monday. And tomorrow I'm going to try and actually be recording around noon so I can actually get a morning and afternoon price, which would be really nice. Yeah, I had something I was going to talk about today, but I'm uncertain if I really want to, because it's based entirely off of I literally just saw an Imgur post, and it made me kind of frustrated. I kind of want to talk about that, but I also know it's just a random post on the internet, and I really shouldn't let it bother me. Though now that I've said that, I may as well explain it. Basically, it was some college professor basically took the class that showed up to go and find another student that had been starting 6 p.m. today. There will be a limited time 50% off sale. Well, hey, what do you know? It's after 6 p.m. Might go see if he has anything I might want to get. Like, you know, she took the class to get this one student who had been out of class for a while because of an injury and then just kind of stopped going. To me, that strikes me as a teacher who wants to teach. I have to talk with Carmen because she's right here. Oh, Esla. Oh, right. I think that's the nickname she gave me. Oh, Esla. Good evening, I guess. It is evening, right? Yep. She's just gonna talk about eating 50 pounds of something. Cheesecake. Okay, so she likes cheesecake. Yeah, like, that professor to me sounds like someone who likes to teach and wants to teach. And wants to teach as many students as she can. That sounds like a good professor. Like, that sounds like the type of teacher everyone wished they had in high school, you know? And the comments on it were just full of people being like, man, if I'm going to college, and I don't show up to class, it's because I don't want to be there. You know, it's my money I'm wasting. Like, sure, but why complain? Why complain now when a lot of these people were probably the same ones who were constantly going on, like, oh man, our teachers in high school don't teach us anything. I was one of those students. I would love that college professor. Because it sounds like she actually wants to teach. She would actually be able to teach people. Like, that's kind of my point here, is like, you're basically at that point complaining because you've gotten what you wanted. I mean, yeah, it's a few years too late. You still know basically nothing because high school is useless. But, you know. Well, I suppose I can't say it's useless. High school is such a weird thing. I'm checking turnips first, Nook. 69, I don't want that. I mean, I suppose I could just buy flowers, but I don't really want to just buy flowers. Oh, excuse me. Nothing here I really want. Okay. Yeah, like, high school is basically, at least where I went to high school, which for me, high school was grade 7 to 12. We didn't have middle school. Elementary was primary to 6. High school was 7 to 12. And high school for the first 3 years, so 7, 8, 9, was basically just reviewing what you learned in grade 6. Like, that is basically what that was. I mean, yeah, you'd have people still struggling, but those were the same people that struggled in the work in grade 6. They never learned anything. And then, yeah, they'd have to relearn it every year because they didn't learn it the first time around. Honestly, they probably should have been held back in grade 6. Yeah, that would have probably created a massive bottleneck and really small classes at the high school. Because, no joke, a lot of the students did not understand basic anything. And it's purely because, well, the elementary school was kind of too easy. Like, it was, like, alright. Imagine you're taking a test in school, and the teacher stands at the front and tells you the answers. That was elementary school. High school was not that, which tripped a lot of people up. Because it's like, what? It's not, we're not just going to be given the answers? Well, no, you're in high school. We shouldn't have been being given the answers in elementary school. But, you know, the teachers didn't want to leave anybody behind. I wanted everyone left behind because I was that one smart kid that just had no patience at all for people that couldn't keep up with how well I could do. And I'd get bored a lot. And I was also sick a lot as a kid. Like, I would go to school and get sick almost immediately. Like, even going through, like, high school, the same deal. I'd go there and I'd get sick almost immediately. Which, funnily enough, is how I think my mother knew I was skipping a lot of days when I was going to high school. Was because I'd be not sick for weeks at a time, instead of being sick almost all the time. The difference is, though, being sick, you know, I could still get the work I missed. Skipping a day, I usually couldn't. The work I missed usually wasn't important, though. Because I was smart about how I skipped classes. I would never advise anyone ever do it. It's dumb. The school systems are dumb. Just go and suffer through it. But, like, when I skipped classes, I would... Basically, I'd always have a friend in whatever class I was skipping. And I'd have them tell me whenever a test was coming up. I would show up the day for the test, do the test, ace the test, and then not show up until the next test. Now this generally rose 2 answers from teachers. I was smarter than the grade I was in, or, the more common answer, I was cheating on every test. And they just couldn't catch me somehow. Literally, I had a teacher take away all of my books, my clipboard, well, I had clipboards, I didn't have a binder. Like, my 3 clipboards I had. Took away all that, made sure my hands were clear of anything, and then literally sat me down in front of their desk to do the test, and still claimed I cheated. Because I aced it, but I wasn't there for the material. I mean, I can understand how that would strike a teacher as weird or suspect for cheating. If a student wasn't there for the material but has aced the test. But maybe if a student is doing it consistently, they already know the material. They don't need the class lessons because they already know it. Like, through high school, I took chemistry because it's a subject I never studied on my own. Math, I did. I was in grade 7 in the high school library using advanced math books to just study advanced math on my own. Because once again, grade 7 math was basically grade 6 math strikes again. You know? So I got sick of that. I'd go to the high school library and, you know, grab random books about just various topics. Well, encyclopedias, mostly. I'd also, while I was at home, I would browse random things online to help me learn more things. I still do that in what spare time I've got. I'll look up things, I'll just start randomly doing something. But I had never looked up chemistry, so yeah, I took that class. I also never really skipped that class. I'd skip everything else, but I'd go to chemistry. And I don't know how the school didn't figure that out from what I understand, the vice principal had figured it out. And he was going to do everything he could to basically have me just given the credits I was supposed to get that year, the credits for the next year if I could pass those exams, and then basically just kick me out the door with a diploma much younger than I should have been. But no one ever told me this. So I just kept skipping because, well, as far as I saw it, the school was literally just wasting my time. I was learning much better on my own than they ever did at teaching me. Mostly because all of the teachers sucked. Is this a new fish? No, this is just a hammerhead. You know what? I'm gonna hang on to this hammerhead to show off something come winter. Because very soon, I actually think we're coming close to it. The bug catching contest, if we haven't already passed this point, the bug catching contests will stop and it'll go back to fishing contests. Well, sharks aren't catchable in the winter. So if we can get a fishing contest that asks for just a generic fish in the winter, we'll be set. It's a sea bass. Alright, I think I'm done catching fish though. Yeah, I caught a few. Didn't really get anything I wanted, but yeah, as you could tell, I was not a great student. Like, I'd do tests. I'd ace tests. I'd help other students the days I was actually at the school doing things. I'm actually gonna quickly go put our shark in the basement. Like, I think I've told this story before, but I even remember having a teacher tell me not to help the other students because the way I was doing the equations, even though it was right, wasn't the way she wanted it done. So I wasn't allowed to help a student that was struggling because they couldn't understand the way she was trying to teach it. I couldn't understand the way she was trying to teach it. I even forget what the equation was. And this was for reference, we were doing math in global politics. That is a class I took. Mostly because I just had to have the credit, so I took it. Like, I spent the entire year, well, semester, just making references to, various figures in history. I actually wrote a paper for that class. And I also basically rewrote the paper when I was going to the NSCC here for trying to get my grade 12 again. Where basically it was write an essay about someone who was influential in history to, and shaped the world in a good way kind of thing. And both times, and this, honestly, saying it sounds dumb. I wrote both of them on Hitler. I don't think what he did was good. I don't think what he did was good at all. But if you think the modern world is good, well, that's because of him. He did influence the world to become better. mostly by giving the world a monster to take down. Because humanity does great when we're faced with a positively evil monster to face. Otherwise, we usually just can't care. If we don't have that monster, we don't care. If you want to see a pretty good example of that, before ISIS showed up, everyone basically thought terrorism was over because Osama bin Laden was dead. The monster had been slain. That has to mean we've won, right? Like, that was the sentiment. Even up here in Canada, that was the sentiment. Hey, Roscoe. The other day I picked up a tartan rug at the shop. So I get it home, wasn't sure anymore. Do I take it off my hands? You even interested in that kind of thing? Sure. Oh, you're one of those folks who really gets into those, eh? Glad to hear it. Away. Since we're all friends here, that is a lot more than you probably paid, but yeah, sure. But I mean, that was basically the you know, point of my essay, was just to point that out. Both times I had it rejected because it was insensitive. No, it's the truth. Truth is quite often insensitive. That's the point. The world isn't squeaky clean. And I know, even with me saying that, that is a completely controversial thing to say. But looking at it from a historical perspective, he did influence the world in a big way to move forward. Just gonna make sure this is watered. I mean, I can almost guarantee you most of the technology we have today would be different had Hitler never rose to power and started World War II. Industry would have stagnated. War brings innovation. That is something we can see throughout all of history. War breeds innovation. Mostly because advances in weapon technology, scouting technology, reconnaissance technology, all can be transitioned into consumer products. Back when sailing ships were a thing, and people needed a good way of seeing each other, you know, seeing other ships over the water, people started, well, for war mostly, they started developing things like the periscope. Well, the telescope mostly. Like, so you can see far away that ship over there and tell if it's friendly or not. Because your cannons reach that far, but you can't physically see that far. So you need something to help you with that. Like, it's weird to think, and like I said, I know it's an incredibly controversial thing for me to even say that, but it's the truth. The truth is controversial. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. If you liked my rant, and you want to see more of these, I do have a Patreon, should you wish to donate. It'll help me upgrade things. Honestly, first on my list will probably be trying to get a new desktop, because mine's having a bunch of issues. And another editing program. Or at least a more up-to-date one. I'm running Vegas 2012, like Sony Vegas 2012. I've missed multiple opportunities through Humble Bundle to get 2014 for like $1. And it's mostly because I've never had that dollar to get it. So, if that gives you an idea of how even $1 could help me. Even though it's through Patreon, it'll probably be closer to like 80-some cents will actually come to me. But a couple months, that's $1. Yeah, with that, I thank you all very much for watching, and hope to see you again next time for more Animal Crossing City Folk. See you all then.